Welcome back, Sheep Assassin, to another episode of Video Game World Tours, a series where we slow down and soak in a game's environment. Today's tour takes us to the charming and curious world of Spyro the Dragon. A lot of the areas I cover in this series are small. There's something about a tightly packed level or space that feels comforting. The environment itself embraces you. Spyro the Dragon's levels are a great example of that, and the first hub level showcases that beautifully. The Artisan world feels so nostalgic, which is weird because I didn't play this as a kid, but it still evokes those feelings within me. I know this area like the back of my hand, and I played this game for the first time only a couple years ago. I think it comes down to the fact that when you're playing the game normally, you're encouraged to collect every gem you can. In the process of doing that, you explore every nook and cranny a stage has to offer. You become comfortably familiar with every polygon. And with this being the first hub level of the game, it's no surprise that it sticks out in my mind so much. There's so many memorable landmarks here. The hedge maze. It's obviously pretty small in retrospect, but I'm pretty sure I got turned around in here once or twice on my first playthrough. A level portal is at the back, and the maze itself blocks just enough sightlines to be slightly confusing on your first visit. This tiny moat guarding the portal to the stage, Sunny Flight. It's not too difficult a challenge to cross it, but it at least does a good job at teaching the player that Spyro can't swim. Though I wish he could, this bright blue water is so inviting. Off the main area, down a winding tunnel, is a set of buildings hiding the entrance to another stage. This area feels properly secluded and comfy in its own right. It's comfortception. The game itself is comfy, and within it is this particular level that's comfy, and within that is this area that's also comfy. Pure, distilled coziness, right here. Those three areas we just looked at are memorable parts of the level. You might have noticed, each one of them was home to a level portal. But I wouldn't be doing my duty as a video game world tour guide if I didn't show you the less memorable areas. Like the hallway leading to the buildings we just looked at. There's a couple gems to grab in here, but outside of that, this is a transitory area. On both ends of the tunnel are open areas that you're meant to scour for collectibles, but inside it, the tunnel does its best to not stand out in any way. A simple S-shaped path, no subtunnels branching out, and perfectly innocuous wall and ground textures. It's a place you aren't really meant to pay attention to. Also like these stone pillars. They have some gems, and they're really only here to get you used to platforming in a 3D space. Once you collect the gems, all you're left with is just some nondescript pillars. Literally no reason to climb them after you do it once. Though they do give you a better look at the castle. It's easy to forget this whole building exists, considering you spawn in the stage facing away from it. But once I did take notice, it felt off. Look at this wall here. This is a certified, it feels like something is hiding here, spot. I think it particularly feels like that because on both sides of it, the wall is a repeating texture. All along here, there's nothing to break it up, then boom! The repetition ends and you're met with a castle wall. This is the only part in the level that feels like it should lead to something, but doesn't. One more thing. I love the colors of this level. The green grass, the brownish stone, and the purple sky. This really is a magical place. Dark Hollow, one of the first stages you come across, takes place at night. This isn't one of those dreary night levels though. It's equally as magical as the Artisan world. Once again, the colors really sell this area. Where the Artisan world had warm colors to match the daytime vibe, this has cool colors to match the night sky. The lighting is much more striking at nighttime. Well, I say lighting. There's not really a lighting system at play here. All the changes in light are built directly into the textures. That's not a knock against the game. In fact, it allowed them to achieve even more beautiful, quote, lighting than was possible on the console at the time. The subtle gradients across this stage are mesmerizing. Look at how the lamp lights up this whole area over here, and how it contrasts with the wall on the other side of this passage. Or these pedestals that are an orangey yellow in the center, but fade to a bluish gray at the edge. Though there is one bit of actual lighting in this stage. If you set aflame these little piles of wood, the area around it lights up. And it actually flickers. Look at the wall. I don't know how this technique meshes with whatever they use to light up the walls everywhere else, but it kinda tricks you into thinking the stage is more dynamic than it actually is. I love that. This stage feels like a place the dragons spent a lot of time in. The finely trimmed hedges at the front, the lampposts all over the place, and the little stone towers dotted throughout. Though I'm not sure a giant dragon could even fit in a building like this. Look at how small they are compared to Spyro. No way a full adult dragon is fitting in these. Interestingly, this is the stage featured in the opening cutscene, so you do get to see the dragons hanging out here normally. And it's daytime. It's neat to get that little glimpse at it with a bright blue sky. Okay, back to night. Just like the Artisan world, Dark Hollow is tiny. This one is linear though. You can practically see the entrance and exit from the same spot. But just because it's small doesn't mean it doesn't have its fair share of cool spots. Like this corner. None of that artificial lighting we talked about earlier reaches all the way up here, so the textures don't even have a hint of that warm orange glow. This little cubby you have to glide to is much the same, a tiny hidden away area that there isn't much to say about. Towards the exit portal is a pit that's pretty well lit up for some reason. There's no lamp nearby, but look at the wall here. Compared to the wall on this side, what's causing this wall to be lit up so much? It feels like the dirt patch at the bottom of the pit is illuminating light for some reason. It does feel kind of important, with these decorative swirls surrounding it. My favorite area in the stage, though, is away from all that we've looked at. It pulls no inspiration from the beautiful nighttime vibe we've appreciated so far. Down this long and winding path, you arrive in such a striking room. The orange bricks are something we're familiar with, but this purple light is something we haven't seen. Most of what we've seen so far has had this undercurrent of feeling welcoming, like you'd want to be there yourself. I don't know if I'd want to be in this room myself. Something about this Grimace Shake pool just doesn't feel right, especially considering how much light it gives off. Look at how far up the walls it's reflected. This whole room is a little taste of the weirdness that's yet to come. High Caves isn't a stage I remember a whole lot from back when I originally played, but I like the vibes it has. Being high up in the mountains carries this sense of isolation, and the fact that there's these castle structures all the way up here makes me feel like this place was useful once, that it was only accessible by a chosen few. But now, that purpose is lost as evil creatures have taken over. Of course, the colors are beautiful. Pink and purple drench the mountains in their beauty, from the peaks up top to the fog that covers the pits below. It reminds me of those rare times where you catch the sunset at the perfect moment for the sky to turn pink. The environment you're so used to seeing in the normal shades of daytime and nighttime, you now get to see in this slightly pink hue. This stage perfectly captures that moment in time. There is more to the stage than nature, though. I want to talk about the man-made structures here. dragon made, whatever. Most of the buildings use blue and gold a lot. Those two together feel very regal and kind of mystical in a way. The textures probably play a part in that. This repeating argyle pattern, the purple gems dotted above doorways, and these wall textures, man, they're great. The sun and moon usage in these rooms are a peculiar choice. I don't know why, but it looks like the wallpaper to a child's room. That's a weird association I have in my brain that I can't make much sense of. Either way, these rooms are great. Especially the layout. This game has a lot of areas that aren't really branching paths, but more so tiny pockets of collectibles. Like in any other game, you might expect to glide over here and go down a whole hallway to fight some bad guy at the end and get a reward. But no, you glide there and the reward is right in front of you. Collect a couple gems and move on. But if you ever return, it's eerie. The few interesting things in this room have been taken from it. Now it's empty and serves no purpose. I cannot stop thinking about that when I come across interior areas in this game. There's an uncanniness walking around in these rooms that seemingly have no purpose other than to hold gems for you to collect. But occasionally they're a little weird. This room has a tiny pool of water with a bit of ground on the far side of it. And the super weird part is that nothing is on that pedestal normally. The gems you collect are all on the other side of the water. That's just so weird to me, especially considering that you take damage if you fall in water. At least give you a reason to jump over here. Place a single gem, that's all I ask. Hopefully Insomniac can take a break from their Spider-Man shenanigans to update this game. The Blue Thieves. These mischievous little goobers. When you approach them, they take off running and you have to catch them. When they're running, they always follow a set path that loops back on itself. And for a handful of the Blue Thieves in this game, they're given a track outside of the main area just for their little challenge. These are some more interiors that feel eerie to pay attention to, because you're not supposed to. You're supposed to speed down the paths, paying attention to the dubious creature in front of you. But you know what? We're going to do exactly the opposite. We are going to pay attention to this area, whether the developers wanted us to or not. Let's begin our leisurely stroll. Looking at the blue rock walls, I realized that these tunnels must have been carved out of the mountain. I wonder what the process was like for that. Ooh, here's something interesting. Some more of that regal interior design, but with pillars. I like it. It's eye-catching, but not distracting enough to make you forget about the wicked entity you're giving chase to. A short little bend and you're right back to the entrance. If you didn't catch the guy, you gotta make the loop again. It's interesting now that I think about it. You don't really spend time slowing down in here, but it's very likely you'll do a couple laps as you try to burn this guy, so I guess you do become familiar with it in that way, at least. Any other spots in this stage before we move on? Funnily enough, there is another Blue Thief on this stage. He's on this little cliffside you have to glide to. His path isn't as cool though. He just goes around this pool of water in circles. But the cliffside itself is nice. I like how the blue of the water mixes with the purple and pink of the mountains. Ice Cavern feels different from all the stages we've looked at so far. It's a much more harsh environment. I imagine the temperature would definitely be a good bit lower than the other stages. And with all the ice, you'd probably be slipping around. Not very welcoming. But there is a slight sense of comfort. I like it. Everything feels so weathered here, especially the buildings. Note the frost up top that fades away towards the bottom. These buildings have been here a while. And inside them, some invisible orange lights break up the cool color monotony. This is some more of that interior goodness that I talked about in the last section. Something new here though are these tall platforms. It kind of puts into perspective that Spyro is still pretty young. Steps that adult dragons could just walk over, Spyro has to jump up. and areas that adult dragons could reach with their hands, Spyro can't reach at all. It's easy to forget you're playing as a child in an adult's world. Rooms like this remind you of that. Oh wow, look at that. All the blue around here makes sense considering the stage is called Ice Cavern, but the purple is a little bit of a curveball. Purple is kind of an adjacent color to blue, so it's not completely out of place, just a little unexpected is all. What a beautiful little scene right here, with the ice pillars sticking out of the void below. Further down the path, you come across another cave with a similar vibe, though in here, it's not a bottomless pit below you. Instead, you're greeted with a sea of purple goop. Looking at it from here, I imagine it's very viscous, like you'd really trudge through it. If you jump in though, it's the same animation as every other body of liquid, so it's probably just purple water. I like my headcanon though. We won't spend too much more time here, I just wanted to point those things out. As well as this little spot you can glide to. There's not even gems up here, it's just a nice, unremarkable ledge. Following the aptly named Ice Caverns is the equally aptly named Treetops. This is a spooky stage. The color palette is all around dark, and the skybox really sets the mood. Most notably, it's green. That's such a weird color for a nighttime stage. Don't think I've ever seen a green sky like this. And the trees are so far away. Like, you look at how big these trees are, and compare them to the ones out there. It's kinda hard to do considering the perspective, but I feel like they must be huge. So much bigger than the ones you climb around on this stage. In the bottomless pit below. I know a lot of the stages have had them so far, but you're kinda confronted here with the bizarreness of this in-world. Look at the line of where the tree trunks in the distance start to fade. They disappear into the green abyss below. You look downwards and there's just nothing. Not even treetops, just to give your brain some context and tell you that you're high up above a forest. But no, you see nothing. You are so far up, the details of what's below you aren't visible. But enough of what doesn't exist in this level. What does exist? Trees exist, and oh boy does this level have trees. In fact, you get to walk inside a lot of them. You might have noticed, but the aesthetics from the buildings and the stages we just looked at are kinda samey. They all feel magical and mystical. The style here is a bit of a deviation from that. It's very naturalistic, tribal. It's like you stepped out of the realm of dragons and into a completely new space, one that they had no hand in shaping. The only bit of architecture here that even feels remotely similar to what was featured in the other stages are these pillars. There's another set of stone pillars on top of this tree, and these are even weirder. There's a patch of grass underneath it. This might feel normal in any other stage, but on top of a tree, it sticks out. Heading back inside, I love this particular wood texture. It looks so smooth, like I could rub my hand across it and feel that it was sanded down. I might get a splinter if I do that on some of the other wood around here, but not these walls. And these campfires, they're all over the place in little recessed areas made of stone. Now that I think about it, that doesn't seem like such a good idea. I don't know a lot about trees, but I think it'd be a good practice to keep fires away from them, even if you do have a little stone fireplace. But hey, that's just me. These fellers seem to be getting along just fine the way they are. The last little spot in this stage is right up there above the stage exit. It sticks out to me because it's such a pain to get up there. I knew I wanted to talk about it as one of the interesting areas in this stage, but I couldn't make the jump. I even remembered me having a problem with this back when I first played the game. So I, in my ever forgetful ways, had to look it up. Again. Like I did years ago. Sure enough, it's not as simple as jumping from this ramp. You have to zigzag your way through 2 tracks and jumps to build up enough speed on the final ramp to be able to jump up high enough. I guess that goes to show that just knowing the area like the back of your hand isn't enough. I knew all these ramps existed before, it's just how they're interconnected that surprised me. That was a fun little revelation. As for the spot itself, well, there's nothing too crazy up here now. There are normally some gems, but without them, it's just a couple of nondescript huts. But this spot is more about the journey than the destination. This section will cover a few different stages in the final world. We're doing that because they all have one thing in common. These areas are industrialized. Smokestacks, docks with crates, cargo vessels? This is not a direction I expected the game to take, but sure enough, here we are. In Twilight Harbor, you have these raw, factory-like interiors. Pipes, windows, vents. It's all so different from what we're used to. And the final stage of the game, Nasty's Loot, is filled with more of the same. Of note here is all the lava and green slime. Remember the early stages of the game? Remember how it felt like dragonkind lived harmoniously with nature? How they neatly trimmed the hedges in Dark Hollow, and added understated lamps around to light up the place. Compare that to Twilight Harbor. It's cold, inhumane. The only source of light around here are the fires of industry. Coming here, progressing through these stages, it reminds you what Spyro is fighting for. While we're here, let's look at a few spots. Underneath the waters of Nork Cove lies a little tunnel. It's a dead end, but I like the colors. And the scale, too. It's one of those places that feels a little too big. Oh my gosh, and the hub world. This is the final one in the game, and it's hilariously tiny. We've only looked at one other hub world in this video, but for reference, hub worlds are almost like their own levels. They have their own gems to collect and dragons to save. But this is like the Crash Bandicoot 3 level selection area. There's no exploring to be had. And what a location for this, right? Smack dab in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by water. To me, this screams, we didn't have enough time to make a full hub level, so we put together what we could in a week. I looked it up, and sure enough, there was a normal-sized hub world planned for this area. In a press kit for the game, a world called the Machinists is described. It features blocky, heavy Jules Verne-like structures made of riveted steel, wood, and stone. Gears, smokestacks, steam pipes, and turbines are all present. Despite the abundant machinery, the environment is very clean. Metal gleams, wood is polished, and stone is marbled and flawless. Definitely sounds fitting when imagined alongside the existing stages in the final world. I can only imagine how cool that would have looked if Insomniac were given an extra month or two. But honestly, I kinda like what we got. There's a sense of dread when you first arrive and see this. You know you're in the endgame now. There's no environmental flourishes to distract you from these final levels. It's menacing in a way that a full hub world really couldn't be. In contrast to the dreariness, to the industrialization of the final levels, we're going back a bit to my favorite level in the game. The first one actually, Stone Hills. I love just how plain everything is. While you can stumble into another stage early on, this is the one they obviously intended for you to play first. Because of that, it's a relatively safe, no-frills stage. We get to see some more of that mystical dragon architecture here. It sets a baseline as to what's normal for Spyro, the kind of thing he's used to seeing every day. Then, as you progress into the later stages, it drifts further and further from this peaceful and welcoming environment style. There are a lot of cool spots in this stage, so let's get to it. This tunnel connecting you to another chunk of playable space is nice. This wall texture isn't like most of the tunnels in the game. There's only a bit of stone at the bottom, while the rest above it looks like raw dirt. All the tunnel walls I can remember are completely encased in stone, though I wouldn't be surprised if there are a few more that aren't like that. This room carved into the side of a hill. This is dramatic. A lot of the rooms I've showcased here have been tiny little pockets of the world, but this definitely strikes me with its scale. So much empty space, all to emphasize the dragon pedestal in the middle. Jump down this little well thing, and you find yourself in a tiny box. Not sure what the purpose of this is. The ground pattern kinda looks like sand, and it actually reminds me of a spot I covered in my Final Fantasy VII tour. Fitting, because that's the only other PlayStation 1 game I've covered so far. Though I don't think this is sand, because there's a beach in this level, and the texture is slightly different. I do like this beach though, and this cave. I love a good beach cave. Alright, enough dawdling about. Time to look at my favorite spot in my favorite stage. In the second area, there's a castle. You can actually get on top of it. I like the view it gives from up here, and you can see the hills rolling into the distance. Hold on, there's gems over there. I wonder if I can... Oh, wow, you can just walk around up here. I think that is so cool. You play through the stage up to this point, not even thinking about this as playable space. In the first area, there's nothing to even hint at that. And in the second area, all you can see up there are these gems. It recontextualizes this part of the level from out of bounds area to playable space. I love that. It teaches you, the player, to always think outside of the box. Never get caught up in your assumptions and assume that there isn't a secret somewhere. It's so barren. Even considering that you were intended to come onto this raised area, it still feels like you aren't supposed to be here. That's such a cool curveball to throw at the player in the first stage of the game. Join the other Artisans in the Pretzel Discord. There's a good amount of us hanging out in there every day. Come by and say hi to everyone. Link in the comments. Also, check out my tour of Super Mario 64. Graphics really came a long way in just 2 years. Thanks for watching and see you next time.